So far in this module, we've been talking about a number's distance from zero. We've been talking about positive and negative numbers and how far they are from zero, either to the right for positive numbers or to the left for negative numbers. When we look at a number's distance from zero, we have a special kind of name for that. In our last lesson, I introduced the concept just briefly, but when we talk about how far a number is from zero, 9 is 9 units from zero, we talk about its distance and its direction. We say 9 units to the right. When we just talk about its distance, its magnitude, then we're talking about its absolute value. So distance is the same as magnitude. If I were to look at an arrow from 0 to 9, its magnitude would be how long the arrow is. And I can compare the magnitude of different arrows. If I put 5 on my number line, I can see that an arrow that goes from 0 to 5 has a shorter magnitude, a shorter distance than 0 to 9. It's a smaller arrow. I can compare the magnitudes of arrows that go in different directions. If I were to put the opposite of 9, negative 9, on my number line, and I were to look at an arrow that shows the distance from 0 to negative 9, I could see that these two arrows have the same length. They have the same magnitude. They show the same distance, 9 units, from 0. That's what we talked about opposites being. Opposites are numbers that have the same distance from 0, but in different directions. So opposite numbers are the same distance from 0, in opposite directions. The opposite of 9 was negative 9. The opposite of 5 is negative 5. It's the same distance from 0, but to the left instead of to the right. When we write the absolute value of a number, we use two straight up and down lines on the outsides of the numbers. Right? So the absolute value of 10 is written as this line, the number 10, and then another straight up and down line. When you write this, you want to make sure these lines don't look like the number 1. On the number line, we're going to count the number of units from 10 to 0. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That makes sense. 10 is 10 units to the right of 0. Okay? That's what absolute value means, is how many units would it be between 0 and the number. So the absolute value of 10 is 10. There's another number on this number line that has the same absolute value, the same distance from 0. But I need to go in its opposite direction. Negative 10, right there, is 10 units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 units to the left of 0. So we can say that the absolute value of negative 10 is also 10. Notice that I'm not talking about the absolute value of 10 as negative 10. Those are opposites. Absolute value and opposite are not the same. 10 and negative 10 are opposites, but they have the same absolute value. Okay? What other number has an absolute value of 10? Negative 10. Why? It has the same distance from 0. Negative 10 also has an absolute value of 10 because it is 10 units to the left of 0. 10 units away from 0. When we look at the definition of absolute value, the absolute value of a number is the distance between the number and 0 on the number line. This is the definition we're going to use for absolute value. You'll find you'll need it in your homework tonight. When we talk about absolute value, we're talking about the magnitude, how far away from 0 something is. So that's the other word we need to know. In this example, Mrs. Owens received a call from her bank because she had a checkbook balance of negative $45. I mean, she had $45 less than 0. What is the magnitude of the amount overdrawn? When you have a balance of less than 0, you say you are overdrawn. That means you've taken out more money than you actually have. You withdraw. You've withdrawn more than what you have in your checking account. We want to know what's the magnitude of this number. When we do magnitude, we're looking for the absolute value of a number. The magnitude, how big something is the absolute value of the number. It's the length of the line of the arrow if we were to draw it on a number line. So the absolute value of negative 45 is 45. That's how long our arrow would be. This means that Mrs. Owens is overdrawn by $45. That's how much money she took out that was more than she had. In this lesson, we talked about two important concepts. We talked about absolute value and we talked about magnitude. Absolute value is a number's distance from 0. And remember, there are two numbers that have the same absolute value. Every number has an opposite, and both a number and its opposite have the same absolute value. Magnitude is the absolute value of a number. It's basically how big a number is, or how far it is from 0. So magnitude and absolute value are two ways of saying a number's distance from 0. Make sure you watch the video again if you need to. Finish up your homework, and I'll see you in class.